So today then guys, we are going to have a look at the first impact factor, angle of attack. So guys, today we're talking about the attack angle and the importance of that attack angle and the relationship that will play in terms of how you control your ball flight. So attack angle is probably the most important element, in my opinion, in terms of controlling your ball flight, because it doesn't only just influence the path, okay, it will also influence where the club face is pointing, and lastly it'll then dictate where your body lines are going to be. So understanding how that affects your swing is going to be massive. So see, you've got stick on the line here, so this is just a ball to target line stick. So obviously if everything was 0, dead square, i.e. at the bottom of my swing right in here, I am hitting it at the bottom where I've not hit up or down on the ball, and we can see that the white stick in the middle of the face is pointing straight through or straight over that orange stick, meaning that that is going to get the ball coming off really straight. Okay, so if that attack angle is 0, there's a great chance that the club's not going to come massively into out or out to in, okay, in terms of neutral. And if you get the face square to that, that would just be a straight ball flight. That's with 0 and all of those numbers every single time is almost impossible. So it's not something I'd ever advocate for anyone to ever want to do. We all tend to be a little bit into our out to in, and we also tend to hit down on it and up on it, just a little bit one way or the other. So one of the things we really need to look at is, if I was square here at address, okay, so feet pretty square to that line, what we'd see is, as I'm making this one, I'm going to hit down on the ball. So I'm coming in, I'm hitting down on it there. And we can now see that as I hit down, the club face is now pointing to the right, and the club path is more into out. Now, if I want the ball to go straight, I need to shift the path to the left, okay? So what that means is, if I stand a bit more open with my body, now all of a sudden that is square. So as I've hit down on this again, we can now see that this is coming through square. It's coming, attacking down, club face is square, so that's going to give me a much straighter shot. What else will happen is, if we want that ball flight to go straight, we want, as we've hit down on it this way, we need the club to exit more left. So i.e. the club head will travel on an arc that is more angled to the left. Now you can't look at your divots to look at what your swing direction is doing, because most divots will have an arc around to the left on them, or even if you barely scrape the floor at all, that'll still have a bit of an arc around to the left, because it's just generally what we would tend to see. You can look at the divot though, just to see whether you take a lot of divot or not a lot of divot, therefore start to figure out whether you hit down on the ball a lot or off quite shallow, okay? So therefore you can start to manage that attack angle and start to understand where that path is going to be coming from and what the relationship is to that face, i.e. that's going to also be pointing to the right, because the more down I hit on the ball, I'll just stand a little open here, the more down I hit this way, the more that club is to the right there, so therefore from even more to the left. So hence the reason with a wedge we'd be a little bit more open. And then we're now going to have a look at what we do with a longer club. Okay, so with a driver, okay, will I be a bit square or maybe a bit close? Well, if I hit up on the ball, so we'll go back to square right in here, okay, and now if I hit up on the ball, which would be from there's the 0 point at the bottom where it's square, so if I go up, we can now see that that stick is pointing to the left. The club face is closed to that line, so the ball would then start to the left. So what I then do is need to angle that body a little bit more to the right, okay? And that then gives me the ability to, when I'm hitting more up on the ball, to come through with a squarer face. Hence the reason when you're hitting a driver, because the ball's further forwards in the stands, you're hitting it later in that circle. So the circle here, so you're hitting it later in that circle this way. So the club face will be a bit more closed. It's why we tend to see a lot of players stand a little bit more closed with the driver. Now, I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. I've seen loads of great players stand open with the driver, hit up on the ball and drive it fantastically. But it's a great starting point to know what's happening. If you haven't seen this video by Sean Foley where he did something for TrackMan and he explains how when he was working with Tiger and they're in Australia and he was hitting down on an iron a lot, this way, he was aiming a long way to the left because he says it's about 8 to 9 degrees down. So what he had to do is to zero out the path, i.e. get as straight a flight as he could out of it. He had to angle more to the left because he's hitting so down on it. That's his chance to get the face square at the bottom, and basically he's matching the geometry. He's matching the down to the club path, because obviously the more down he comes, the more the path will come a little bit in to out, and therefore the face will want to be open, so he's aiming left to get that shot going straight. So it's one reason why when you're hitting shots in the wind, you might want to aim just a little bit more to the left with the irons. Like I say, if you're hitting a driver, hitting up on the ball, you're in a little later in the circle, so therefore that club face will be pointing a little bit more to the left when you strike the ball. So guys, we've had a look there at what the angle of attack is. I think it's really underestimated how important that is and how much of an influence that has on ball flight in terms of curvature and start lines. So if you have a look at that, I think it's really important that you start to understand that where the club is attacking relative to the ground, so whether you take much of a divot or you don't, really will influence how much curvature you end up putting on the golf ball and where you need to understand where that ball is going to start. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and talk with you again soon.